Good evening, everybody. It is great to be back together again. I hope that everyone is having a fantastic summer and getting excited about the start of fall semester. Many of you know me from last year, but some of you may be meeting me for the first time. I'm Gary Durr, and I'm the Vice President for Operations and Public Safety. It has been an exciting summer as we prepare for fall semester. And I just want to jump right in and go because we have a lot we want to cover tonight and we want to leave plenty of time for question and answers. So next slide, please. I want to give you kind of an overview of what we want to try to cover tonight. We want to give you an update on various policies and procedures about COVID-19 on campus, including vaccines, testing, quarantine, isolation, and questions you might have. We want to give you an update on academics and what the plan is for learning on campus this fall. Something I know many of you are very concerned about, and that's residential life. I've seen a lot on the Facebook page today questioning about what rooms look like and what life on campus is like, so we want to leave a lot of time for that. Health and wellness and what some advice and recommendations we want to give you about how to live healthy on our campus. We've got a lot planned for you during some pre-events that we're going to talk about, but also when you arrive on campus and week of welcome, and a lot that's going on campus this fall. And we're just excited to be doing it all in person this year. Then we want to talk about the living off-campus experience and what that's going to be like. And most importantly, we want to leave a lot of time for question and answers at this time. Next slide, please. So with this, I want to turn it over to Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Pavel. I'm the Medical Director in Center for Health and Wellbeing at Student Health Services. I've got some glorious sunshine hitting me right on the side of my head, so it's a beautiful day, though, here in Vermont. So let's talk about fall within the COVID context. And the Delta variant has changed the course of the pandemic, and UVM has responded. And we're being proactive. We're requiring all students to be fully vaccinated. With the goal of this vaccine mandate is to make UVM a highly vaccinated community, which will give us much lower risk of severe illness, hospitalizations, and death in community members, and lower rates of transmission. We've all heard in the media that vaccinated people can contract COVID, but vaccinated people are not getting as sick and have much lower hospitalization rates and deaths. And that's our goal. There's not a lot of data about how much vaccinated people transmit the Delta variant, but so far 2 studies have shown that individuals infected with SARS-CoV-2 were 40 to 50% less likely to spread the infection if they had received at least 1 dose of vaccine, and we're hoping that with 2 doses that likelihood is even less. So if you've not yet submitted your COVID vaccine information, it's not too late. Go to My Wellbeing and log into our secure portal to do this now. With the increase in cases across the country, we also have decided to require all students to get a day 0 test. This means residential students will get their day 0 test on the day you move in to the residence hall, and off-campus students are asked to get a test prior to attending class for the first time. Next slide. So we know we will see cases. Hopefully not many, but there are still rules that apply to students who test positive. And so when any student tests positive, whether they're off campus, on campus, graduate, or a medical student, they will need to isolate for 10 days, regardless of whether they're vaccinated or not. The difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated people as far as isolation quarantine comes is when a student is exposed to someone with COVID. Currently, unvaccinated people are still required to quarantine and get tested 7 days after exposure. Here in Vermont, that's our rules anyways. In other states, the day of testing is different. And vaccinated people are not required to quarantine if they're exposed to someone with COVID. But UVM will ask vaccinated students who are exposed to get tested within 48 hours and 7 days after exposure. I think now it's time for Jay to talk about academics. Next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Dickinson. I am the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs and Student Success, and I'm going to talk a little bit about your experience on campus this fall in the classroom. So I think the first thing to recognize is that the classroom experience that we're anticipating will be much more similar to what you may have experienced if you were here, for example, in the fall of 2019. So currently 94% of our undergraduate classes are in person. We always do have some online and hybrid classes in the mix. And so this year it's very typical compared to pre-COVID years. Please note that because of small office sizes and schedules and so forth, some of your appointments or your office hours may be virtual and some of them may be in person. As it said on one of the previous slides, we do recommend that you bring a mask. You may be asked to mask during an appointment. Or a faculty member may request masking in the classroom if there are reasons to do so. So please, as you're getting ready for the fall, be thinking in terms of this regular classroom experience. We're going to have full lecture halls, full classrooms, and it's going to be very busy on campus, whereas last year I think you saw some people out and about, but there weren't that many. So as you're beginning to think about and imagine your experience next fall, really be thinking that there's going to be a lot of people around. There's going to be a lot to do. It's going to be exciting, and it's also going to be a transition from what you've been used to into this new, more pre-COVID like academic experience. So don't be so focused on that you forget to do all of the other things that we would ask you to do as you get ready to begin your classes. Take a look at your schedule. Think about whether there's any changes that you want to make. So you registered for these classes last spring or maybe over the summer. Now is the chance to take a look and see whether maybe a spot has opened up in that class you really wanted, and think about how your daily schedule is going to work out. When will you find time to study in your busy week? When will you be preparing for class or for those doing that last minute studying for exams? Don't forget that you need time for meals, you need time to meet with your friends, and you also need time for relaxation. So as you're checking out your schedule and you're anticipating all the things that you want to participate and do this fall, make sure that you're making time for everything that you need to have a full and healthy life on campus. Can I have the next slide? We do recommend that you take some time now to get ready to hit the ground running. So don't forget that in the Navigate app, you can find out who your academic advisor is. Most faculty will not have office hours until the second week of classes, but you can certainly reach out to your academic advisor starting the week before classes begin and see when they would be available to meet with you. We really highly recommend, no matter whether you're a first-year student or a senior, that you plan to meet with your academic advisor in the first month of the semester. Talk to them about where you are, what you have left to do, how you're settling in, how things are going. This is a great opportunity to check in and establish or refresh that relationship. I'm also going to recommend that you visit the Career Center website and click on the 4-year path to career success. And this has got great ideas for many different kinds of activities, both academic and non-academic, that you can do to prepare to move forward on your own career path, no matter what stage you're in, either of deciding on a career or what year you're in at UVM. So that's everything from finding ways to getting involved on campus to checking out internships to considering whether you want to study abroad. All of that is right there summarized in that 4-year path. And then finally, again, think about clubs and activities that you're interested in for a range of reasons, including a number of clubs and activities we have that are directly related to academic interests. This is a great way to meet people who are maybe in some of the classes with you, but also have a lot to share about different majors that might actually resonate with your own interests. Can I have the next slide, please? And then finally, it's not too soon to think about academic support. I think the semester goes by a lot more quickly than we ever expect it to. The time to check out and understand what academic supports are available is more towards the beginning of the semester, so that you are able to reach out as soon as you feel like you might need some extra help. So first of all, take advantage of that opportunity to go in and introduce yourself to your professors, even if it's a large class or a small class. They want to get to know you. They want to know why you're in the class. They want to be ready to answer your questions. And even if your question is, how can I do my best in this class? Or how can I find out more about this subject that interests me? They'll be excited to talk to you about it. I also want to mention the tutoring center. I think oftentimes students don't know that we do have tutoring, subject area tutoring, and study skills tutoring that is available free to our undergraduate students. So don't hesitate if you are concerned about your performance in a class, or even as you're getting ready to study for a test, go ahead and sign up for tutoring in a subject area if you feel like you might need some extra support. We also have the Undergraduate Writing Center, which provides peer tutoring, really high quality peer tutoring to help students at all stages of their writing process. And this is whether you're a student in the Honors College who is an excellent writer, or an English language learner who might need some extra support, or someone who just wants to make sure that the way that you're composing is really what faculty are expecting at the college level. Don't forget, your student services or your dean's office can also help you sort out academic questions that you have, academic difficulties that you're experiencing. They have drop-in hours. They're available to help you. And then finally, take advantage of the Navigate app. Make sure that you've downloaded it and take a look at all the information that's in there. There's a feature in there that helps you find study buddies who are enrolled in the same section of your classes. So you can indicate that you're looking for a study buddy, and you can find someone else who wants to study with you. You can explore support resources that are listed there, and you can access your class schedule, and there's a lot more in there. So please take the chance to download that and check out everything, all the information that's available in there. Thank you. Next, we're going to hear about residential life.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terrence Sanders. I'm the Associate Director for Assessment Strategic Initiatives here in the Department of Residential Life, and I'll be filling in for our Executive Director, Dr. Rafael Rodriguez. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through 4 things that we want you to know prior to your arrival here on campus. So number 1, we want everyone to make sure they double check their move-in date and time. That is going to be on the room assignment, roommate, and arrival date page, and that's how students log into their housing portal. Those dates and times are very important to everyone's move-in, and they also align with our orientation that will be happening for our first-time, first-year, and transfer students. 2 is every student, regardless of an early move-in or moving in during the timeframes allotted, will need to complete our housing check-in form. If you've flown before, it's similar to completing a check-in to your flight up to 24 hours prior to. That form allows us to know when students are planning to get on campus, and it allows access into your buildings so that we can have that in advance and we don't have to worry about that the day of. Step 3, this is for any student, is the proxy agreement. If you are not yet 18 but will be turning 18 by the time that you move on campus, that means your parent or legal guardian has been the person who signed your housing contract. Once you become 18, that will switch over to you. If by the time the semester starts you still will not be 18, that proxy agreement has your parent or legal guardian as the one who will be signing that for you. If there are any questions about that form, we'll definitely be able to answer that once we get to the Q&A section. And then this is just for all students across. Review the what to bring and what not to bring. I think sometimes we all get super excited to get ready to come to campus, but just take a look at what we actually allow within our residential halls, and what's encouraged to bring and what we do not allow that is considered not just able to be here. Can we go to the next slide, please? So between August 6th and August 23rd, we have various early arrival move-in groups. I'm not going to go through the entire list, and it's not completely exhaustive, but students that are a part of these groups are either working with their group leader or have received communication from our department in reference to how that move-in process is and what date that move-in is. Just to give an example, there's TREC, we mentioned we have our international students, athletes, resident advisors, and move-in volunteers, academic support groups, and there are other groups that are a part of this area. All of your move-in date and time is going to be displayed in your housing portal, and then you'll receive specific move-in information with the exception of students participating in We Venture. We Venture will receive specific communication from Res Life based on your move-in. All other groups will receive specific communication from their early arrival group leader. Next slide, please. So August 26th, and you're going to see that when we go to the 27th, there's another color. UVM is green and gold, and green students move in on August 26th. That's incoming first-time, first-year, and transfer students for the following learning communities: outdoor experience, innovation and entrepreneurship, honors college, leadership and social change, and then wellness environment. Students who are specified with a Thursday move-in. We have students moving in between wellness over both Thursday and Friday. It's very important to align with that because the green students will move in that Thursday and they will go through orientation that Friday. Your move-in date and the time, and this is going to be displayed a lot just to ensure that every student understands their move-in date and time. It is going to be displayed in your housing portal, and then just some steps. Once you get here, you're going to move into your room. You're going to check in at your main desk, you'll move into your room, you'll collect your CAT card. This is for all of our incoming first-time, first years and transfer students. And then there will be a RA dinner and circle that happens that night. In addition to this, as explained earlier by Michelle, students that are residential, on your day of move-in, you will need to make sure you get your day zero test done as well. May I have the next slide, please? So our August 27th move-in, this is for our GO students. So students who go through the August 27th move-in will have orientation happen on August 28th. Those students are in the learning communities of sustainability, arts and creativity, cultural crossroads, our liberal arts scholars, and our wellness environment students with a Friday move-in. Similar to the other, your check-in process will be exactly the same. You check in at your main desk, which is where you receive your key, go into your room, collect your CAT card if you are a new student, and then you attend your RA dinner and circle, as well as ensuring that you complete your day zero test by 5 p.m. on that date. So you also want to ensure that if you have an afternoon move-in, it's imperative that you get your day zero test that morning and vice versa. If you have a morning move-in, you can get your day zero test that afternoon on your move-in date. May I have the next slide, please? August 29th is the date that our returning students will be moving in. And since returners have been here, this is the process we went through. It's a very more streamlined process. You don't have a specific check-in time. You can arrive anytime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. 8 a.m. is the earliest that you are able to check in at your main desk, grab your key, and then move your items with it into your rooms. Next slide, please. One of the areas we really wanted to make sure we gave some insight on is our trading spaces. I know that we have had many students who submitted trades, and we want to just kind of provide some insight on that. So students were notified via email of their trading spaces outcome, and trading spaces process, it will open again in September. Mid-September is when it'll open again. And if your trade is honored, you will then be notified that the trade has been able to happen. What we want to provide some insight on is trading spaces is a request, and students usually utilize that to try to get into an alternative learning community, one that they may not have been placed in. For us to be able to move you to that learning community, we have to have a student who's willing to trade out of that learning community. So we do want to emphasize that a request for trading spaces does not guarantee that it can happen unless we have the one-for-one swaps in and out of these various learning communities. I believe this is our last slide, and we're going to be moving on to the health and wellness. Thank you.
Hello again. Let me have the next slide and we'll get started talking about health and wellness. So the Center for Health and Wellbeing consists of counseling and psychiatry services, also known as CAPS, student health services, athletic medicine, and education outreach. We all specialize in taking care of college students, so we are highly skilled in the areas that students most need support. So let me tell you about some of the services we offer to support you, and these are busy slides, but the information is really important. In student health services, we have a team of excellent primary care providers, I'm a little biased, to help manage a broad range of health issues. At the start of the day, we have many appointments open and ready to be used for those things that come up suddenly, as they do in college and life. We also have a registered dietitian at Student Health Services who can support the nutritional goals of students. Now in CAPS, there are many options to meet students' counseling needs. Students can call and get a same-day initial phone consultation with one of our counselors. There are also Let's Talk drop-in counseling sessions with counselors in locations across the campus, and no appointment is needed for these sessions. Next slide, please. Our counselors can also tailor short-term individual counseling to meet the needs of most college students. And then there's a wide array of different group counseling options for students. And research has shown that these are very helpful too, and they can explore topics such as grief and loss, body positivity, anxiety management, and graduate support, support for graduate students. There are also 3 psychiatrists in CAPS and 8 primary care providers in student health services that can help with mental health, with medication management. Then we have a case management available to help students find mental health resources in the community to meet their needs. And last, we have our education and outreach team that has a wealth of health and wellness resource information, weekly educational programming and workshops, and a relaxation room, massages, and therapy dogs that were paused during COVID, but possibly coming back, so check the website for updates on those. Next slide, please. So let's talk about flourishing. And what we do in Center for Health and Wellbeing is not just about treating illness and injury. We know young adults are at a critical development juncture. They're building the foundation of habits while their brain and bodies are still forming. And they are learning to manage their own health, often without close parental oversight for the first time. I know that's hard to hear, parents, but it is true. But we're here to help. As college health professionals, we know first and foremost that we are here to help the burgeoning adults flourish. And this concept of flourishing started with the field of positive psychology. And the important concepts are that absence of mental health does not mean everyone is flourishing. Encouraging positive health is as serious as treating mental illness, and what lowers the bad does not necessarily increase the good. So here on this page is a model of flourishing from positive psychology researcher Corey Keyes that we adapted to feature 6 strategies to help you flourish. Interact with others. This is building relationships by joining a group, finding a mentor, eating with friends, getting to know your professors, or just meeting everyone on your floor. Helping others. Share a kind word, give a compliment, volunteer, or pay it forward. Learn something new. What you're all here at UVM to do, right? Engage in spiritual and cultural activities. Find a source of hope and meaning. Play and create. Make time for play. Do art and music. Play sports. Have fun. Diet, exercise, and sleep. Fuel your body with nourishing foods. Move every day. And prioritize sleep to help you meet other goals and create healthy sleep routines. The great news is that there are a lot of opportunities at UVM for you to engage in any and all of these behaviors and flourish. Next slide. But engaging in healthy behaviors is your choice and your decision. Your behaviors are creating and reinforcing habits every day, and these habits will help you get better grades, enjoy your time at UVM, and serve you for the rest of your life. Getting enough sleep helps you learn faster, gives you more energy throughout the day, and even boosts your immune health. Healthy eating helps your brain and body function optimally. And you might think that most college students use alcohol and other drugs in a high-risk way, but the reality is that most college students, including most students at UVM, make responsible choices. We also know that many students don't use any alcohol or drugs. It's just not their thing. And there will be plenty of events to have a great time, be safe, and meet other students who want to have substance-free fun too. The decision is yours. It's up to you to decide whether and how you want to use alcohol or other drugs. Academics is important, but make the choice and take time to get involved in other campus activities like clubs or organizations, campus rec, and student life and activities, because getting involved can help you make connections, feel engaged, and flourish. All right, I'm done talking to students. Next slide. Now, families. Here are some tips for you as you and your student navigate this new and exciting time. Most importantly, partner with us in helping support your student to make healthy choices and decisions by being curious about what is going on in your student's life as they adjust to being in college. And be mindful of other resources on campus that support students' well-being. You can submit a care form if you're concerned about a student. And the Vice Provost and Dean of Students Office is here to support a health and safe community. Then we have an online mental health screening tool that can help determine if you or someone you care about should connect with a behavioral health professional. Sometimes you just aren't sure. And then in times of crisis, there's a great Vermont crisis line that's staffed 24 hours a day, and students can just text that crisis line or parents if they have concern that someone is in crisis. And we will publish all of these links in the chat. Now, Lynna will tell you about student life. So next slide.
Hi everybody, my name is Lynna Balcom. I am the Interim Director of Student Life, and I am really excited to be able to share with you how much we are looking forward to having students on campus in person and being able to engage in ways that last year was more challenging than we would have liked. So next slide. Our first group of students that are going to come to campus are our TREC students. And so TREC move-in will happen on August 22nd at 7 a.m. at the Davis Center. So if you are registered for TREC, we will make sure that you get more information. If you have not already received it, know there's additional communications coming. But as Michelle was talking about earlier in our conversation tonight, the Delta variant has made us be more thoughtful about some of our COVID-19 precautions. And so some new updates that we want to make sure everybody is aware of is if you have not submitted your vaccination card, please make sure you do that. We will not allow folks to join the TREC trips if they have not submitted their vaccination card to Student Health Services. We're also going to, for just the TREC students, we are going to require that you have a pre-arrival test, that you need to organize that and have 3 days prior to arrival and bring those test results with you. The reason why we're doing that is because folks that come for TREC will travel together very shortly after they arrive, just a few hours. And so our day zero testing will also happen, but that day zero test the results won't come back quickly enough for us to make sure that we have everybody prepared to be together in close quarters and traveling together. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding surprises with any infections. And we are encouraging you to bring a mask so that you can wear during travel in vehicles and other moments where you might be inside or you might feel the need to be wearing a mask. And then in order to make sure that you have the best opportunity to participate in TREC, please engage in safe behaviors that we know will help avoid COVID infections in the week leading up to your time joining us on the 22nd of August. So we're really excited for TREC, and I'll move on to the next slide to talk about the next group of students that we'll see join us on campus will be We Venture, and those folks will move in the next day on August 23rd and from 8 to 1 at the Central Campus Residence Hall, and that will be followed by a family welcome barbecue. So really exciting. Again, as Terrence shared, your specific move-in times will be assigned and they'll be in your My Housing portal. So please look there for details and be mindful to come during that specific assigned time. and to know that for WeVenture, those students will be moving right into their permanent residence hall rooms for the year. So, and then again, more information will be delivered to the students who are registered and coming for WeVenture specifically. But we're really excited about those two pre-arrival programs. There's a lot of other programs happening, so we'll move to the next slide, and I can tell you about a variety of things that we're planning for the early fall. So on opening weekend, we will have a variety of programming, a class picnic, what's called Rally on the Green, our convocation, a Twilight induction, a whole variety of programs that are going to help, especially the incoming class, get to know each other and start building those relationships like Michelle was talking about, that will help you flourish. So we're going to really encourage you to participate in as much of those programs and events as you can fit into your busy opening weekend experience. Following opening weekend, we have a series of programs that we call Week of Welcome that are geared towards all students, not just the new incoming students. And they have things such as, we're going to have a beach day and we're going to go bowling, and there's a whole variety of programs, and there'll be more details about that in the Compass app. So the Compass app is another app that you should think about downloading. It will have all the information about opening weekend and Week of Welcome and other programming throughout the year. Shortly after Week of Welcome, we're going to have a series of 3 activities fairs that we call Activities Fest, and they are an opportunity for students to get to know all of the clubs and organizations on campus. We have more than 200 clubs and organizations, and they will be organized by the type of organization. So for example, on one of the days, all of the club sports will have their opportunities to meet with all the students that want to know more about club sports. And another day it might be all the diversity groups. So there's definitely something for everybody. So please come out and learn about what's there and find your connections. And so that's really important. Want to talk about fall visit. So this year we're having what we're calling fall visit rather than family weekend. And it's an opportunity for you to make, the way that was described to me is choose your own adventure. So to come and visit campus with for your family to come and visit you, or the family to come and visit the student in the time and space that makes sense for you with your schedule and your budget and your opportunities. And so there is a lot of information on our website about all of those different opportunities, and we encourage you, as you're planning for your fall experience as a student and as a family, to think about when your fall visit makes most sense for you. We also know that the sophomore class had less than the experience, or I should say less than what people experience in a typical non-COVID impacted year. So we're creating some programming specifically for the sophomore class, which include a pre-orientation retreat opportunity, a camping trip on the opening weekend of the semester, a prom on the 18th of September that's specifically for sophomores, and there will be others that are coming that have not been finalized, and we're not ready to tell you the details yet, but we're creating lots of opportunities specifically for the sophomore class. And there's so much more that will happen throughout the fall. So if you haven't already familiarized yourself with the website uvmboard.com, please do. It is the place where all of the wonderful things that are available to happen, for you to participate in, that happen on campus and off campus in the Burlington area, get posted there. So it is a curated group of opportunities that are really geared directly to supporting our students and their opportunities to get engaged. So I'm going to turn it over now to Gail and talk about living off campus.
Thanks so much, Lynn. I appreciate it. So welcome, everyone. I know that a lot of students are already in our community, and they've been here all summer. From our survey, we found 65% were here. And the good news is that most of them had employment in Burlington. So good news about things opening up and students being able to get the employment that they need. And for the next slide, I'll talk about housing. And so for off-campus housing, I know that we have some students, transfer students, and some students who had study abroad, but it was canceled. And so they've been calling us and asking for assistance. So the first place to go is that UVM off-campus housing website. So you'll see not only properties that are listed there, but there's also message boards. So if you're looking for a roommate or you want to see a message from someone who needs a place to live, that's a great place to post. And then we also have an off-campus housing resource sheet, and it has a list of affiliated UVM housing, a list of landlords in the community, and other search ability. So if you want to contact our office, we can email you that sheet, and our contact information is on the slide, the next slide. So I'll go. I'm sorry, is on this slide. Sorry, if you could go back. So it's 656-9405, or you could email us at oscr@uvm.edu. So do get in contact with us as soon as possible. We also have an off-campus living guide, and it has everything you need to know about living in the community. So it talks about not only what to do when you're looking for a place to live, but also if you move into a place and you have some code issues, for example, has information about that, information about getting along with roommates and getting along with landlords, also about responsibilities for landlords and tenants. So it's got a lot of really good information for you in there, and the back of the guide has a lot of resources. And then we also are offering off-campus living workshops, and we'll be doing them in October. So if you're a second-year student and you're thinking of moving off campus, the workshops are enormously valuable. And we actually have people from on and off campus who present. So we'll have code enforcement officers there, for example, and you'll understand what kind of resources you have for getting to be more knowledgeable about living off campus, but also when something comes up, who's your go-to person or office? And that's going to be enormously helpful for you. And then again, you can meet with our office, just contact us. And then Vermont Tenants provides incredible resources and support to you while you're a tenant in the city of Burlington. And also their resources are for the entire state. So they have an excellent Renting in Vermont booklet as well. And they'll be participating in our off-campus living workshops. Okay, next slide. So we have an off-campus life newsletter, and if you are an off-campus student and you don't get that yet, you can contact John Mejia, and his email is john.mejia@uvm.edu. And we have a lot of updates and resources. So not only do we talk about the fun things to do on and off campus, but there's a lot of topical items. Like at the end of the academic year, we talk about how to get your security deposits back. And at critical times of the year, we want to make sure that you have the information that you need. And I know it's been a very tough time for families, for students, and some of us may still feel like we're food insecure, rent insecure, utilities, having trouble paying for those. On our website, we will have updated information about resources, and there are local and state and federal resources that we could connect you to. We do hope that everyone who gets the help, needs something, gets the help that they need so they can have a successful time off campus. And look for us. We have a green tent with our OSCR emblem on it. We'll be out in the neighborhoods. We have community gardens that students have already been gardening in and seeing the fruits of their labor with vegetables and fruit and flowers. And we also do a lot of block parties. There'll be some ice cream trucks from Ben & Jerry's out in the community because we really want to welcome you all back. We're so excited that you're here, and we're here for you. Okay, then next I'll turn it over to Gary to talk about some apps to download.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much. Wonderful overview. I want to talk about some apps that we recommend that you download. There's links for new students on the admissions website about these. Let me just talk briefly through these, and then I want to spend a little time talking about one in specific. Bite is one that our university dining services set up. It's a mobile app for food ordering, and I should say returning students, these are all the same apps from last year. So other than maybe updates you might need to do, they're the same apps. It helps you reserve dining hall space, meals to go, and we found it a great app to have last year. A co-verified app, and if you go to our testing center website on campus, it's the app we use for scheduling testing. It's also the app we use to communicate negative results on there. So it's a real simple, and there's a guide for how to use that app on that site as well. Live Safe is a campus safety and alerts app that I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. Lina talked about the UVM Compass app. It's an amazing app that contains tons of information about events going on campus, both during Welcome Week and throughout the year. And then Jay Dickinson also talked about the Navigate app for your academic connector. And I would encourage you to download all of those, become familiar with those as well. So before we move on to the next slide, what I'm going to do is we're going to open it up for questions right now. So if you could advance the next slide. And I'm going to put a plug-in for the Live Safe app. It's an app we instituted last year, and it was well received by our students. It's an app that's a safety and security app for our students on campus and for our faculty and staff. There are a variety of resources on there about emergency options, about how you can contact police services, UVM rescue, 911. There's a safe walk program, so you can connect with somebody so that you can walk safely from one designation to another. There's mental health resources on there. It's just a great resource for you to have on campus. We have the download information on there and would encourage you to do that before you come to campus. And our website also contains a lot of information on how to use that app. The other thing I want to mention before we open it up for question and answer is that this session will be recorded. We do that every time, and it takes us a couple days because we have to do the captioning for it, but then we will post that on the UVM Forward website, along with the PowerPoint from tonight, because I know we contain a lot of this information was covered very quickly, but we have it all there for you so that we can help with answer any questions. What I want to do is talk about while the questions are starting to come in. I want to thank you too. We have almost 2,000 people here tonight, which is just fantastic. So great that you're here and eager to learn about things, and we're going to try to get through some. Obviously, with about 45 minutes remaining, we won't be able to get through every question we can have, but I want to talk about a couple that I'm sure may come up in our chat. A lot of questions have come up about whether we're going to require masks on campus or not. We are looking into that. We're looking at our policy. We're engaging in conversations with our Vermont Department of Health and our governor's office, also with local officials, just to understand what that requirement is out there right now and whether we want to change that. As several people mentioned through their presentations, I encourage you to bring masks. It's a great way to protect you, and it's a great way to protect others on campus. You know, as we went through the last 18 months of the pandemic, there were really 3 key strategies that helped us, not just UVM, but across the country, deal with the potential spread of COVID. And one was the masking, which we encourage you to bring masks, and we encourage both vaccinated and unvaccinated to wear masks. The other is physical distancing. We've returned our campus back to its state that it was in for fall of 19 before the pandemic. So our capacity to do 6-foot physical distancing is not there. We also believe that's a safe strategy as well, too. We've also, those of you who were on campus last year and those of you who were in high school probably had similar experiences where classroom spaces and meeting spaces, the library, the Davis Center, other spaces were significantly reduced capacity to manage that 6-foot spaces. We also reduced the size of the number of people that could attend programs last year. That's not there. We will not be doing that, the reduced size events this year, unless the situation warrants this. So let's turn to some questions. Will COVID testing be offered as part of orientation? So let's talk about the testing requirement this year. We are not requiring students to test this year. We are making available on-campus testing like we did last year. And we want to encourage any student that wants to get tested to take advantage of that. We're going to be communicating the results the same way as we did before. It's going to be on the lower floor of the Davis Center. It's moved from where it was last year, but it's still on the lower floor of the Davis Center. But what we talked about earlier, everybody is required to do a day 0 test when they arrive. So if you're arriving on the 26th, once you've moved in and get settled, go over to the Davis Center, get that test. Same thing with the 27th, same thing with the 29th. If you're an off-campus student, just plan to get that test before your first class. We also want to talk, and we really want to encourage you to do a pre-arrival test. Many of you know that last year, both for fall semester and spring semester, we did a pre-arrival test for all of our students that were required to do. We're not doing that this year. We thought it was very successful, but we did that largely because last year testing was not as readily available in our local communities. Now it's very much available. And what we want you to do is get that test 48 hours before you come. As Linda said, you know, be cautious about what you do during that period of time so that you You don't risk additional exposure, but then if you should test positive, contact Student Health Services. And we're going to be sending out some information about what you need to do with that information, but contact Student Health Services and we can talk you through what you need to do in order to plan for that. So Luna, there's some questions that come in about the sophomore program. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the events that are planned for our sophomore students?
Sure. So right now, the events that are finalized and planned for the sophomore students are those three that I have mentioned. So there is a mindfulness retreat that's happening prior to move-in, so during the week prior to classes. There is a summer camp for sophomores on the weekend of opening weekend, so the 2 days right before class, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday right before classes begin. And on the 18th of September, there's a prom scheduled for in the Davis Center in the Grand Maple Ballroom. So those three programs are finalized right now. There are a number of other programs that are in the works, and because they aren't finalized, and I don't know if all of them will come to fruition because there might be some reasons why things that we are hoping to do might not actually happen. I don't really want to start saying, oh, we're going to do this, and then have folks feel a little disappointed. But know that we have a group of people who are specifically focused on creating some experiences for sophomores, especially focused on outdoor programming with sophomores. That's the feedback that we've got from the survey that we did earlier in the year about sophomores and what they were looking for as part of their experience this academic year. So they are being developed. Beyond those three programs that I just described, they're not necessarily finalized or secured, but there will be definitely a lot of communication and promotion of them as they are developed. If there are sophomore students who would like to be involved in helping to plan those things, please feel free to reach out to Student Life, and we're happy to get you connected to those groups of folks and all the ideas and experiences of folks that want to help. We're really excited to welcome that information, but that's what we have at this point.
Good, thank you, Lena. A question came up about if you have an afternoon move-in time, are you required to arrive on campus the morning of for your day zero test? So if it's convenient to come to campus, you can do that, but the testing center will be open probably till 7 o'clock on both those days so that you can easily get your test done after you've moved in there. People have asked questions about how many people can help move in, and those of you remembering from last year where we had to really restrict a lot of that activity, there are no restrictions on the number of people that can help you move in. But I mean, if your car's pretty full, you may have to limit the number of people that you can bring with you. But no, there are no limits regarding how many people can help with move in this year. A question about, can a sophomore student move in to the residence halls earlier than August 29th? Concerned about what they need to do. At this time, move in for sophomores has to take place on just that Sunday, the 29th. What dates will activities fairs be held? Jerome, I think, Jerome posted that in the chat, September 7th, 8th, and 9th from 11 to 2 in the Andrew Harris Commons on the Davis Center Green. The Res Life slide said to complete the fall 2021 check-in form within 48 hours of your arrival, but Terrence implied it should be done in advance of arriving to campus. Which is it? Eric, do you want to handle that question?
I'm happy to, and the answer is quick and easy. The answer is that the check-in form needs to be done 48 hours prior to their assigned arrival date.
Good. So great question from somebody off campus. It has to do with, can off-campus students get tested on campus prior to the start of classes? Absolutely. That testing center is open right now. You can get tested tomorrow if you want to, but yes, you can get tested anytime prior to the first day of classes so that you can get checked out there. For new students and family, can you say a little more about move-in day and what's expected to happen there? Eric? Erica, yeah.
Yeah, sure, happy to. So as you heard, we have different days for different groups of students. And what you will notice is that there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of signage that you'll be able to pay attention to know where to drive and unload, which entrances to use. We have a lot of hubbub on campus. There will be a fleet of UVM students, faculty, and staff on hand to assist you with moving your belongings, into buildings and to help make that process both easy and expeditious. For the students moving in, the first year students in the green group and the gold group, there will be different activities depending on your group and the day that you're moving in. And we will also have some large scale opening weekend events, and families won't be attending those, but students will get right into the swing of those events. You will meet peers in your learning communities. You will meet new friends across campus. You will hear from a lot of sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are supporting the move-in and orientation process. And you will hear from institutional leaders as well about our vision, our values, and how you can get connected in the experiential and academic realms where you will be successful and engaged over the next 4 years.
Good. Thank you, Erica. So a question about, will we be posting a recording of the presentation? Absolutely. It'll probably be up by the end of the week, and it'll be on the UVM forward site, which is available from the UVM homepage. As I said, we just have to get it captioned and it'll be available there. A question about, will guests be allowed to stay overnight in the residence halls? Yes, that's that's a change from last year. We'll go back to the way it was prior there. Jay, a question about, when do textbooks become available?
The textbook orders were requested in from faculty last spring, and the bookstore has been busy ordering those and getting them in. I do not believe that the textbook sales area is open yet, but I do believe that it will be open over that weekend so that students can get them. It's also, I think students are being encouraged to order textbooks to have shipped to them. Make sure that you do that with plenty of time so that they arrive before you need them. So I would definitely check the bookstore website for more up-to-date information.
Good, thank you, Jay. The question came in about, will parents be allowed in the residence halls to help students move in? Absolutely, you can help move in this year. You can help carry all those boxes up the stairs. Question about the dining halls. Will the dining halls be fully open this year, and will they be open the first weekend? Yes, our dining services will be returning back to normal. The hours are posted on there. I don't know the specific for the first weekend, but yes, they will be back to our normal hours and our normal setup there. If we have an afternoon move-in, times are required to arrive on campus the morning of the day of testing. So yes, you do not have to arrive. You're not required to, because the testing center will be open until about 7 o'clock that night. So you can come in over to the testing center after you've moved in. Lynn, a question on the We Adventure. When is orientation for students participating in We Adventure? Is it with the green and gold groups or separate?
My understanding is that it will be with the green and gold groups. So We Venture is an experience that happens prior to official move-in time, and the same thing with Trek. So those students will participate with orientation with the green and gold groups.
So then a question about will the COVID test be provided for students in the We Adventure, or should students schedule it? So Linda talked about a pre-adventure one, a pre-arrival one that you're required to do. That you're responsible, but for the one that you have on campus, that will be done through the UVM testing center. For sophomores that have never stepped foot on campus, remote all last year, will there be an orientation of campus, buildings, where things are, etc. during move-in? My weekend is a gold student. My student is a gold student. Linda, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I will say that I am not personally involved with the orientation plan. So I'm probably not as educated about the specifics of what that plan is, but I do know that there are some geared towards sophomore experiences as part of orientation. So I am sorry that I don't have a specific answer to that. I'm not sure if Erica might.
I'm here, and I'm going to just freely confess that we need to look to Jerome for this answer. And I apologize for that. We just want to make sure you get the right answer, folks. So over to Jerome.
Good evening, everyone. So just to answer that question about potential like tours, this is where there may be opportunities for tours, but also I would recommend downloading the UVM Compass app as well, because with the Compass app, you will also have campus maps that are available at your fingertips that you can look at where events are going to be at, where the buildings are going to be at, because it is an interactive map that you can take. This is where I recommend, it's like, one of those days when you're done moving in, take a beautiful walk around campus and take a tour, a self-tour with some of your friends and say, hey, let's go ahead and find some of our buildings where our classes are going to be at. We always recommend our incoming students to find schedules and go there before even their first day of class. So there may not be, may or may not be formal opportunities, but this is a great way for you to reacquaint yourself with a campus community. So, and also there's a lot of directional signage that will be out for the first week of school. So make sure to look up and look at those directional, and hopefully you could do that. And please also, if you have any questions, feel free to walk up to one of the many people and simply ask, hey, where are your, do you know where this building is at? So hopefully that helps answer your question. So, but don't forget to download your UVM Compass app.
Good, Jerome. Thank you very much. And I just get an update on the bookstore question. The bookstore website now indicates that it's open for bookstore sales starting this week. So a couple questions came in, and I'll try to lump them all together for a little bit more clarity around the COVID testing that's available on our campus. And Michelle, feel free to chime in. I'll give you a chance to add anything that I may have missed. And I realize that we have a mixture of new students and returning students, but let me talk a little bit about our testing. We provide free on-campus testing for all students in the Davis Center. So the day zero test that we've talked about, that is available to you on campus at the Davis Student Center. You do not need to make arrangements off campus to get the test, only the pre-arrival test. So if you're at home, Pennsylvania, packing up, ready to come, get that pre-arrival test. But once you get on campus, that day zero test is a test that you can do in our Davis Center. You'll get the results directly back to you from a co-verified. But then during the semester, if you want to continue to get tested on a weekly basis, every other week basis, any number of different strategies, you can take advantage of that testing. Our students did a phenomenal job testing last year. We were testing, in sometimes 11,000 people a week in our testing center. So we're ready to continue that this year and to make that available. The big difference is last year it was required. This year it is not required for that. There was a question that was posted about, and Michelle, let me give you a chance to add anything that I may have missed.
No, I think you covered it all, Gary.
Okay. So there's a question about masking in a classroom, and if a faculty member requires it. We're going to be issuing some additional guidance later this week about masking wearing on campus, and I hope that that will clarify some positions on that, because we recognize that there's some anxiety and nervousness, but we want to be consistent across our campus with our policies in there. There's a question about, is there a safe storage in the residence halls for things like passports, vax cards, and other things like that? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not. Does anybody know an answer whether there's a safe situation or anything like that on campus?
I can take that.
Thanks, Terrence.
I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but
there
is not. If students are concerned about those sort of personal items, they would be bringing something with them. But I think they're asking, like, similar to hotels, there aren't those safes that are built into the rooms that you are able to put those items. But if that's something you have concern about, we encourage that you bring some, not a huge safe, something that can slide under the bed that you can lock your items in and only you have access to.
Thank you, Terrence. So a question came up about, will family members helping with move-in be required to do a test prior to arrival? No, you will not be required to do a test before coming to campus. There's no requirement around that. Some of you that were part of it last year know that there were travel quarantine requirements, restrictions. None of that's in place this year. Much easier to come to campus this year. For TREC students, which type of COVID test do you recommend prior to the arrival, rapid or PCR? Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so in the testing center, we use a real-time PCR test, and it's the sample is not one of those deep samples, but it's one that's just right in the front of your nose. self-collected. Somebody observes you collecting it and make sure you do it right. And then that's a PCR test, very sensitive and specific. In student health, we also have rapid antigen tests that we use for people who are having symptoms. And for those, it's another sample a little bit deeper in your nose, but not the nasopharyngeal, which are the tickle your brain tests. And we can get results from that in 15 minutes, and we will always do a backup PCR test whenever we do one of the antigen tests. And those are the tests available.
Thank you very much. So a question was posted about, do students have to reserve dining common spot every time they want to eat? No, they don't. That was that's in the app in case we need to go to that, but no, you do not need to reserve space on campus, a dining space on there. Will we ever need to wear a mask in other buildings on campus? Don't know the answer to that. Again, I would say by either late this week or early next week, we're going to be posting some more information about mask requirements. We're looking at what the CDC is recommending. We're looking at what our Vermont Department of Health is considering, and just the general state of COVID, both in New England, but in Vermont and in Chittenden County here. Are the counselors and counseling sessions free of charge and unlimited? Michelle?
Yes, I will answer this. The counseling sessions are free of charge. They are not unlimited. They follow a short-term model, but there's unlimited group sessions and let's talk drop-in sessions, and also the workshops and lots of things to help. Psychiatry visits. So if you want to see a psychiatrist in CAPS, there is a charge. It's usually covered by your insurance, and so there is a little bit of charge there.
Thanks. Great question about bikes. If your residence hall doesn't have a bike room, can you still bring a bike and have a place to put it? I've seen a lot of places to store bikes on, but I don't know the specific details on that. Eric, I don't know whether you might be able to help with that, or whether there's information online that somebody could post there.
I'm going to have a look online and see if we can post information, but also invite Terrence to give us a sense of that verbally.
Yeah. Is this a question about bike storage?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bike box storage.
Oh yeah, I can definitely answer that. Bike storage. I want to preface this with there are 43 residential buildings across campus. Bike storage does not look the same across campus as every building. Some buildings have enclosed bike storage and some have exterior bike storage. But I don't have that information like off the top of my head, but it all depends on the learning community that you're assigned to, because our learning communities are assigned to buildings/complexes that will either have an indoor bike storage room or exterior bike racks that students use, but it's not the same across campus.
And I see we just posted, there's a link that we're going to post up there about that as well too. So when will day zero testing take place? And do I need to make an appointment? Okay, so those of you who used Co-Verified app last year, we're going to be requiring that you schedule your tests this year. We were a little bit flexible with that because we had the flexibility. This year, we're going to require it. But for the day zero and the move in, you do not need to schedule your test using Co-Verified app. We're going to expand the testing capacity, expand the hours in there, so you do not need to schedule it there. Is there a trek for sophomore class? Is there a sophomore trek?
I can jump in and talk about that. So the sophomore, there is not a specific track of trek for sophomores, but the programming that we have provided with the mindfulness retreat prior to the week prior to classes and the camping trip over the weekend that students are moving into the residence halls, that is our offering for a trek type experience for sophomores. In addition, we are intending to have outdoor programs specifically for sophomores throughout the fall semester.
Good, thank you, Lena. I want to, a number of people have posted questions around vaccine requirements for our employees, faculty and staff. University right now has made a decision not to require that our faculty staff provide proof of their vaccination status. Let me tell you the real reason for that. Vermont has done a phenomenal job. Our governor, our commissioner of health have really led the country in the vaccination process here. We're enjoying the best vaccination record of any state. If you look at the data on Chittenden County alone, which is where the university is, Most of the age bands are in the low 90% response for getting vaccinated. If you look in the surrounding counties beyond there, they're also in the upper 80s and the low 90s. And we've been asking our colleagues on campus to really encourage our faculty and staff to get vaccinated. I feel very confident that based on those state numbers, that our staff and faculty on campus are well vaccinated. Want to ask a question about how can a student sign up, an off-campus student sign up for a meal plan? I think if you go to the University Dining website, that University Dining partners, you can learn how to sign up for a meal plan. But if I'm not correct on that, if somebody wants to jump in on that, it'd be great. Correct something I said earlier about reserved dining space. You do not need to reserve dining space on campus. That was something we had in place with the app that we used last year that we do not need to do this year. If you live in a suite, do you have access to a microwave and fridge, or should you bring one, rent one? Erica or Terrence, do you have an answer to that one?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. If you live in a suite, do you have access to a microwave or fridge, or should you bring or rent one?
Yeah, I can answer that. So when it comes to the fridges, students will have the opportunity, I believe it might be open now, but there's an opportunity to rent through the UVM bookstore, the micro fridge combo. And then they have also the opportunity to bring their own fridge. You don't have to rent through the bookstore. Sometimes it's just an easier process because at the end of the year, you leave it there and it's gone. But they can rent through the UVM bookstore, and then in all of our buildings, I would not say every floor, but there is a common area that has access to a microwave, like kitchenette area across all buildings, but not all floors. I want to be very specific about that. But yeah, so they have the option to rent through the UVM bookstore. They can bring their own fridge and microwave. If you're sharing room with individuals, I would check in with my roommates and see who may be bringing a fridge or who is renting a fridge. The more appliances, the more space that is taken away. But they have options to bring their own, rent one through our UVM bookstore, and then we have kitchenettes in all of our residential halls.
Good, thank you, Terrence. So a question came up about off-campus students and testing. You need to do the day zero test through UVM. The pre-arrival test you can do with one of the testing facilities in the area, but we need to be able to track for compliance purposes that you have completed that required day zero test. So yes, the first test has to be done on campus, but the pre-arrival you can do in one of the local facilities. And if you've not moved back up to the area, you can do it at a home area as well too. So now this is an interesting question here, and it's going to put me in between our students and their family members. Is how long should families plan on staying with their student on the day of move-in? Is there programming for families on move-in day? Erica, can you answer that question?
Yes, absolutely. So as you've said, Gary, families are welcome to support their students in the move-in process during their move-in window. And we will be having for first-time, first-year families and parents a family farewell later on in the afternoon, each of those 2 days, the green day and the gold day. And that's an opportunity to move from the residential halls where you're supporting your student at move-in over to a reception with other families, mingle with some of us who are really excited to be meeting your students, and then make your way to wherever is next for you. For some folks, that will be spending a day or two in the area, and for others, that may be hitting the road and heading home. But it's a nice moment that we get to share with families as you depart.
Thank you, Erica. A question about printer availability in the residence halls, specifically U Heights North. I do not believe that there are printers available generally in the residence halls. So you should plan to bring one up. There are some in like the library and some other places on campus. I'm not sure who said this, but it's nice to see it. It's so nice. I'll read it. It's so nice to see you all looking refreshed and relaxed and ready for New Year. and continue to have a positive message. Yep, we're excited about it. Thank you for being so prepared. From a mom of an incoming sophomore, grateful for sophomore specific activities. So thank you for that comment. I will pass it along to my colleagues who are not here, but we've been working hard for this fall and we're excited about it. My daughter will be in Wilkes Residence Hall. It seems far away on the map. Will she have to ride a bus to classes? If so, does it run regularly? So I don't think she needs to ride a bus. It's a good walking distance on campus, but there are on-campus transportation. There is a buses that run regularly around campus. You can go to the UVM transportation site and you can get a schedule of when those buses are there. Are there scheduled activities besides RA dinner on Thursday, August 26th that move in? So I don't know whether Lynn or whether somebody else wants to talk about events the night of the 26th, which would probably be the same as the night of the 27th.
I'll just hop in. This is Erica.
Yep.
There are events scheduled, and because this event this evening has been created as an opportunity for all families and students, we weren't prepared to speak specifically to first years in those green and gold groups as they move in. But I do want to reiterate that we have a full schedule, some big events, as well as some cozier events in the learning communities on tap. And you will be learning and hearing more about that in the near future.
Good. So Lynn, a couple of questions about Trek. For students doing Trek who are part of the gold group, will they go through orientation with their group or with the green group when they return to the Trek? And if you arrive for Trek on Thursday, but your official move-in date is Friday, when do you get your dining card? It sounds like an SAT question here a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot, and it's important. There's a lot of details there for Trek because they have a unique experience because they aren't going to be in the same routines. So if you are in the gold group, you will participate with orientation with the gold group. And there are going to be some social activities that you're welcome to join on the Thursday. So you don't need to be completely, disconnected from what's happening on campus that day. But the formal orientation programs, you would participate with the gold group. And you will be able to get your ID card and get your dining card on the Thursday because you will be moving back into the residence halls. So when you arrive for Trek, you'll move your belongings into the residence hall on the 22nd of August, but you won't stay there until you return from Trek. So you don't need to wait until Friday in order to get your ID card, which we call a CAT card, which is what your dining plan is anchored onto your card. So you don't need to wait till the next day. You will be able to get your card and participate in the meal plan right away.
Thank you very much, Lena. A question came up about isolation and does the university provide separate accommodations for this? Yes, we do. For our residential students, we provide accommodations to isolate on campus. That worked great last year. We've got meals that will be delivered there. Folks from our student health services will be checking in with you, monitoring you, and helping you through that process. I hope we don't have to do that, but it will be there if we needed it. Please expand on the 10-day isolation. Where are students housed during the isolation period? How are academics handled during this period, especially if classes are in progress? So Michelle and Jay, would you talk a little bit about both those issues and in a little more detail than what I just covered?
Sure. I'll start by saying that when we have a student who's got in-person classes and we know they have to isolate, we will contact the dean's office of their college and let them know the student will not be able to attend in-person classes for a specific period of time. And then we leave it up to the students to negotiate with their professors about how to make up in-person classwork. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jay.
Yeah, I do want to add that given the wide range of classes and different teaching styles and sizes of classes, it is really important to contact the professor and find out the best way. Say that you were unable to attend class and they should have received notification from the dean's office and then speak with them about the best way to make up that information. Some faculty may be making slides available, or maybe have recordings available. Others will ask you to meet with a TA for the class, or you may be able to come to their office hours and review material with them, or meet with them virtually if you are unable to attend class. So please reach out to the professor and find out the best way to make up any missed classes. They will definitely be prepared for that eventuality this fall, but in each case, it's going to be need to be worked out a little bit differently.
And Jay, while you're there, I'll ask you if you can cover this question. It may be not one easily answered, but one you might want to direct somebody to is, how can I see my academic advisor on the Navigate app?
Yeah, so that should be pretty clear in the Navigate app. And so if it's not showing up, it probably means that you have not been assigned an academic advisor yet. You certainly should have one at the beginning of the semester. If you need advising now, my recommendation is to reach out to the Student Services Office in the Dean's Office of your particular college or school so that you can get some advice over the summer. So sometimes if you've changed majors or just recently declared your major, or if you're a new student, you will be assigned an advisor sort of as, over the next month as they're getting ready for the fall semester to begin.
So a pretty detailed question I don't know about, a good one, an important one. How does doing laundry in the residence halls work? Does it cost money? I know it costs money, but I don't know whether you can use your CAT card. Can anybody provide any more detail on that one?
Laundry is free.
I was wrong.
Yes.
Laundry is free. Okay.
Laundry is free. There's no coins, no CAT card. It's free across the entirety of our residential hall. So you go to the laundry room that's assigned to your building. As long as there's availability, you are going to be living amongst other students that will also probably wait to the last minute to do laundry, but we do not charge for laundry on campus.
Okay, so I bartered for quarters when I was in college to do my laundry, so it gives you some idea how long ago I was in college there. So free laundry at UVM, so exciting there. So some good comments about our sophomore program, and we really see that as an important thing we need to do because their year was so significantly disrupted. There was a question about a student who was not here last fall, but came here in the spring. Will there be a special orientation for that group? I think that's all going to be rolled into the sophomore experience that we have for students. But if there's something different on that, Lynn, if you want to answer that. There's a question about students in the residence halls, and are there limits to people, are students' dorm occupancy limits still in place? Like visitors, number of visitors in a room. The visitation policy, I believe, is the number of occupants in the room is what the number of visitors that could be in a room at that time. It's not like last year where you could not have visitors in your rooms at all. That's been lifted this year. What are the protocols COVID-wise surrounding leaving campus for a weekend or something? There are no travel restrictions this year. If you want to travel home for weekends, I will encourage you to be cautious. There are hotspots throughout New England and the Northeast that, again, risk you being exposed to COVID. So I would just say, just be cautious and maybe a little bit more conservative of that. Do you need to make reservations or to use the gym? Any of the restrictions that we had placed last year in the athletic complex for participation in events has been lifted. There are still signups and different things like that, but that's all has changed last year. Will tours or activities be available for parents on move-in day? I don't know if anybody can answer that one.
We don't have specific plans. However, we will have, you can check our admissions website and sign up for tours that are available under the Visit Campus section. Our orientation leaders are all, they're all expert tour guides, actually. They are also our advocates at UVM, and so they know an unbelievable amount about UVM, both through the student lens, but also some of the hidden facts, the things that not everybody knows about. So they're great people to be in conversation with if you're looking to get your bearings or learning more about what's out and about, what's around on campus.
Thank you. Question for Jay. Any update on study abroad for spring semester and when decisions might be made?
Yes, and the update that I have is that the decision will be announced by October 15th, and we have set a date that would allow us to gauge the landscape, including working with our study abroad partners to find out how many of them are running their programs, have a better sense of countries that are issuing visas and accepting international students for study abroad. So that's the update I have, is that we will be communicating that specifically with students who are in the study abroad system and have indicated that they would like to study abroad. That decision will be made by October 15th, and that's the best that we can do now. We really need more specific information closer to the departure dates for those. As you know, some countries are not accepting students for spring 22. So we're trying our best to balance the rapidly changing information and still give people enough time to make decisions and register for spring classes if necessary.
Great, Jay. As you say, it's just a very fluid situation that's changing, and we're going to do our best by the middle of October to make some decisions around there. A great question about, will club sports be allowed to compete and travel to tournaments this fall? Yes, we're so excited to be able to return that. Unfortunately, with the travel restrictions last year and the challenges with travel, we had to restrict all of our club sport activities and not allow you to compete. That's back. All of our fall athletic teams and programs that were canceled last fall, they're going to be back. I think what we just kind of in summary say, we're back. And we're committed to making that experience as best as possible and back to normal as possible. So all the restrictions that we put in place, I can't think of one other than the testing options in there, are gone for this year. So we can return it back as normal as possible. Question about orientation for students participating in We Adventure. Is it with the green or gold groups or separate? Lena?
My understanding is that it will be the same as what the answer is for Trek. So they would participate with the green and gold groups in the same way that Trek would.
Yep, good. A question about when should they expect to find out about their roommates if they have not already? I don't know, Terrence, if you could answer that question, when they might find out about roommates?
So they got their housing assignment, but it doesn't show that they have roommates. So I did have a parent ask that question before, and it was based on the room type that their student was in. If they don't have a roommate as of yet, and they're in a room that has more students, it's possible that they are still doing last minute assignments for some students who are still coming in or submitted housing applications late. But you would just want to keep checking the housing portal, because that would update, but also specify, make sure you see the room type that you have. Because I did have a returning student who was in a single parent asked me why they didn't have a roommate, and it was because it was a single room. And so we just want to make sure that you're checking the housing portal, because a roommate not listed today could be there tomorrow, just depending on the students who submitted their applications late.
Good, thank you. Jay, great question about the tutoring center and where it's located, and do students have to sign up? How's that process work?
So the tutoring center is located over in Living and Learning, and there's a lot of signage there that will help you to find it. And you can actually go to the tutoring center website, and I'll put that in the chat, and find out about how to sign up for a tutor for either a specific subject or for study skills tutoring.
Good. A question was posted again about isolation space, and does the university provide separate accommodations? Yes, for our residential students, we do provide separate accommodations for people that need to isolate. So we just have a few minutes left, and I want to give any of our excellent presenters, an opportunity if they have anything that they would like to add, because we've pretty much got through almost all of the questions, but any final comments that anybody has that were part of our team of presenters?
This is Erica. Erica Calero. I'm the interim vice provost for student affairs, and I want to make one broad comment and one very specific one. I'll start with the specific one just to underscore, as part of our collective commitment to community care, I just want to remind us all to be bringing some masks to campus. That is something that really supported our health as a community last year. And as many of you will know, even in K-12 education, the presence of masks really diminished the number of colds and the amount of flu that we saw, and we certainly had the same experience at UVM. And then the bigger comment that I want to make really is just to underscore the excitement and the welcome and the preparation that we're undertaking for the return of students to campus. There is a noticeable uptick in the energy as our preparations get underway, and this year feels really special because of last year. I'll speak for myself, but I know that I know I'm reflecting the feelings of many. I'm filled with hope and optimism for the weeks and months ahead. I can't wait to see your smiles. I can't wait for everyone to be here. Late summer and fall are a real gift in Vermont, and I'm looking forward to spending time with you in different places, especially in the outdoors. That is such an incredible part of our experience at UVM.
Thank you, Erica. I think that's a great place to call it a night. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It was great to be back together again. We look forward to seeing you all in just a few short days. Enjoy the remaining time with your summer, and let's get excited about UVM. So thank you all and see you soon.